I'm going to show you guys something practical that you can actually do every time you get into a space where you can create and you need to avoid the outside voices to get in that zone. And so something practical is, for one, number one, make sure you have a space that is conducive to creating and have a space that is conducive to the things that you like. If you find that you're gravitating to something that you like, let's say you like vinyl records and you like the way vinyl records sound. You like the dusty particles that are inside the frequencies and using it to create really dusty sounds. If that is what you enjoy, that is a part of your creative essence. That is a part of your purpose that's sitting in a little bit of a space. And what's crazy is, growing up, I loved playing the drums, bro. I loved playing the drums. I loved just being on a drum kit. And what was crazy is, I oftentimes, when I first started making beats, I wanted to mimic a drum set so bad. I always thought you can mimic a drum kit without having to play one. And back in 2010, 2009, 2008, if you weren't a drummer and you wanted to mimic a drum set, you had to have some kind of understanding of how drums work to make it sound like, oh, that's not a drummer playing. Crash X Fleet says my creative space isn't available at the moment. What you mean? You got a phone. Your creative space is your cell phone, doc. That is, you got the, I wish I had the level of focus for a cell phone produced beat. I realized in high school, I could hook up really unique sounds, but he said, however, I do silence certain apps on my phone. Facebook is one app. My room. Well, I'm curious. Not to put your business out there, but what does your room setup look like? What is your room currently set up to do is the question. That's what I ask. Make your creative space more immersive and intuitive. And even if it's not, you could get around and play instruments and stuff. Honestly, the best thing you could do, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but I go through periods where every half of the year, I take the clothes that I don't wear or things that I don't use, and I give them away. I have tons of clothes, tons of shoes, tons of things that I've just collected over the course of 6 months that I actually don't use. And I realize oftentimes I need to give that away. That does not need to be in my possession because I'm not using it. And someone else will have way more feasibility with these tools than I would. Someone will have way more feasibility with the shirts that I got in my closet than me because I'm not wearing it. It's a create/sleep setup. Currently, a pest is still running loose. Not the pest. It's still going crazy. That's from a couple days ago. The one that's just going through the walls. Ciano said, I've gotten used to my creative space in my bedroom, and my room is about the same size as yours. So, okay. So and what's funny is this used to be the room I slept in. I used to actually have a bunk bed that was right behind me. It was a bunk bed, and below the bunk bed was the studio. I have a foldable bed too, so that helps. Listen, see this futon? I slept on this futon for a year and a half until my breakthrough happened. My back was torched, and I told myself when I get enough money, I want to be able to earn the bed that I sleep in. Hilariously enough, I ended up buying a Tempur-Pedic. A practical way to start is, for one, make sure your space is conducive. Because if you're in a space to make music and your environment is not, then you're going to have a little bit of a challenge. You're going to be fighting the space you're in to be creative. Now, once you have your space conducive, you have to then go from space to inward. You have to go from space to inward. Inwardly, yourself, your brain, your being, right? And so if your environment is conducive to create, then we have to set some intentions of what you want to make. What do you like making? And so what you need to do is tell yourself, I want to create 3 really strong ideas before I leave this room for the night. And what's so wild is I used to think that, oh man, I'm falling across these really incredible ideas. And there was actually a period of time where I realized, those y'all who watched me back in July of 2021, I often mention back then because that's the greatest point of reference. I realized that my creative space at that moment, I was constantly just pulling down these great ideas. And I never understood, how am I in the space to get this idea and I can't do it again? Which, if you say you can't do it, you won't. Literally, if you say you can, it'll happen. If you say you can't, it'll happen. I came across the conclusion that it's literally your mindset that gives you the success that you seek. And so I seek to have very productive streams where I share a bit of knowledge and I'll make 3 ideas and we think about those ideas, and hopefully one of those ideas grant the space of the Instagram, grant the space of someone's album, grant the space of my project, grant the space of YouTube. A practical way is literally to have a space set up. And after you have your space set up, you have to set the intention. What are we doing? Third part, once you make what you make, be okay with the results. It may not be exactly where you're landing at, but the fact that you proactively got in the studio and was like, I'm going to make 3 ideas. I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes for each one of these ideas. Call it the gauntlet. If you haven't peeped the gauntlet, highly suggest you guys do that. The gauntlet, 3 ideas, 30 minutes for each idea. And after you make each one, you observe what you did and then duplicate it again 2 more times. The gauntlet. But those are some practical steps to actually be intentional and make your studio space and the time you spend in the studio intentional. Because unless you have your mindset to, like, this is what we're going to do, and you focus your efforts on that, nothing's going to happen unless you have the mindset for it.